In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to use a drop indicator. That's what this is right here, this measuring instrument. Drop indicator has a dial. This one goes from 0 all the way around to 100. There are different styles of dial indicators. Some of them go from 0 to 50, then back to 0 again. So it's plus 10, minus 10 instead of 0 through 100, but they all work similarly. This moves up and down, and it shows you how far the end is moving going by the dial. So on the dial, you've got the 0 through 100, but if you look, there's a small dial right here. So every time this goes around, the big needle goes around 100 thousandths. This little needle moves to 0.1. Go 100 thousandths again, it moves to 0.2, and so on, all the way around to 1 inch. So this is a 1 inch dial indicator. It has slightly over an inch of travel range on it. And it's used for a couple of different things. They're used in production a lot to quickly measure how thick parts are. It's also good to use from the top down to measure the depth of something. It's once it's set up, it's a lot easier to use than either a dial caliper or a depth micrometer. So depending on what you're doing, it might be a useful tool. Some things to know about it. This one's on a granite base. It's a nice flat surface. It's consistent for measuring. You just got to make sure they stay clean so there's no buildup on them. It can be adjusted. There's a thumb screw over here that locks this bracket to the spindle of the base, so you can change where you are, and it locks by doing this. If you want to do some fine adjustments, you've got this thumb screw. You can lock it down and adjust it fine up and down. All right, and then you always want to lock this into position no matter what. I think it's good to lock both of them all the time. So there's a couple of different ways of using it. The first one is you can use it from the bottom up. So I'll do that one first. I'm going to slide this down very easily until the indicated tip touches. And I'm going to do what's called preloading the spindle. I'm going to push so the needle moves probably about 10, 15 thousandths. And then I'm just going to lock it in place right there. Oops. There we go. Now, it's not on 0, so that's no good. So we can turn the bezel, that's this outside thing, unlock this little thumb screw on the side. Move this till it's on 0. And then lock that bezel in place. So every time this comes down, this should be at 0 again. So what we can do is, if we have, say, several of the same part and we want to measure the step, what we can do is put this up here, and as this goes up, 100, 200, 300 thousandths, still going, 300, and 88 is what I get. 388 thousandths. So you can see it hasn't quite hit the little 0.4 on the small dial yet, right? So 388 thousandths is that one. Now I'm going to pick this up, drop this down carefully, grab another one, bring it up, drop it down, check it. This one's 387 thousandths, okay? So there's your variability in manufacturing that happens right there. And we can quickly check 388, several pieces. So you could have this set up on a job and just walk over and quickly check your part. So that's the first way of using it. The second way is from the top down. So you have a part like this that's got several different depths on it. And let's say all of them were taken, all measurements were taken from this surface here down, right? So what we can do is we can go up like this. Make sure that's nice and clean. Okay, make sure everything's clean. So I'm going to set this as my 0 up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this down a little bit more to here, so it's easier to read. And I've got a lot of preload on here, so this spindle will drop quite a bit. All right, I'm going to readjust. So now this is my 0. Now it's going to be reading backwards, but that's still, as long as we count the turns, we're good. So from this surface down to here is 100, and but be careful. It looks like 152, but it's actually 148 because this is going backwards, right? So zoom on this a little bit. Can I zoom? I can't zoom in that mode. Okay, no big deal. Bring this in. So there we go. It looks like 152, but it's actually from up here. We started at 0, right? I'll redo my 0 again. Something moved on me. It's going to go all the way around backwards, 100 and 47, 48. Okay, and these just keep dropping down. 200, 219, 300, and 97. So you can see that's another way of measuring. You measure from the top down or from the bottom, or from the base up. So it's pretty useful measuring instrument. It's nice. It's much more stable again than a depth micrometer or that little depth rod on your dial caliper. So that's your 1-inch dial indicator, drop indicator. And it's worth pointing out too that some of these are metric, some of these are inch mode, and this one is in inches. And if I can adjust right here, you should be able to see right down here. It says 0.001 inches. That means that in between each line up here is 1/1000th of an inch. Some of these have an increment of 0.0005, which is 5/10ths, 5/10,000ths of an inch. So that's a little bit finer of a measurement. And then they have them actually go down to 0.0001, or 1/10th. In some of the digital ones, there's digital versions of these, electronic that is, that go even smaller resolution than that. But that's it. That's the dial depth indicator. And we're done.